All right, so Broncos country, I slept on it. I gave it 24 hours. And based off of the numbers that I'm seeing right here, and based off of what I've seen for the 5 weeks prior to this New York Jets game where you squeak out a win 13-11, I have come to only one logical conclusion, and that is this. Sean, I love you. You are a great play designer. From a football perspective, an X's and O's, and a football mind perspective, you are one of the greatest the game has ever seen. However, it is finally time to give up the play calling. It's stale, it's predictable, and to be quite frank with you, it isn't working for this Denver Broncos offense heading forward in the 2025 season. And if you're a Denver Broncos fan that agrees with me, and you think it's time to make the switch either to Joe Lombardi or Davis Webb, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up icon. Why is it time to finally give up the play calling, Sean? Because your defense cannot continue to do this. It cannot continue to get you 9 sacks, 15 quarterback hits, 7 tackles for loss, and negative 10 yards passing for a team as a whole. Because, to be completely honest with you, you're not going to see a team nearly as bad as the Jets are the rest of this football season. So while you can do this against the GD Jets, you cannot do that against the Green Bay Packers, the Dallas Cowboys, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Jacksonville Jaguars, or the Los Angeles Chargers. Hell, you probably can't even do that against the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, if you're sitting here going, Moose, you can't be the only one calling for Sean Payton to get rid of the play calling. You are absolutely right. Because not only did all of social media agree with me, but you have NFL Newsweek talking about Sean Payton's poor performances as a play caller. NFL fans were confused by some of Payton's play calling on Sunday. That is the pot calling the kettle black, and that is the most glaringly obvious statement I've ever seen. But on 3rd and 10 from the Denver 18 with 1 minute 15 remaining in the third quarter, Payton dialed up a beautiful 3-yard run to fullback Adam Prentice. The Broncos punted on the next play. If you remember that play, I wrote it down on my sheet, and I said, most boneheaded play call in the entire game. 3rd and 10, and you run a halfback draw. Denver scored just 3 points in a sloppy second half that saw the offense have 4 drives and in 3 and-out punts. The Broncos gave up a safety via a holding call on guard Quinn Meinerz. A very uncharacteristic, by the way, penalty from Quinn Meinerz. He's been mostly fantastic this year. Same with the Denver Broncos offensive line as a whole. On paper, they have been really, really good. From a discipline perspective, they've been awful. Discipline only. I'm talking pre-snap penalties, holds. The Denver Broncos offensive line in that aspect is awful. Now, when it comes to a run, pass, block grade perspective, they've been excellent. So when they're not being penalized, they've been awesome. But if I just went through the entirety of Twitter, and this is only like a couple of different tweets that I found, you can see clearly that it's not just Broncos fans, it's NFL fans in general that took part in that game. They're like, good Lord, it's got to stop. Zach, I think he's from PFF. I could be wrong about that. Either way, everybody is calling for the exact same thing. Sean, you got to stop the play calling. You got to give it up to somebody. Probably Davis Webb, who, by the way, throughout the entirety of the preseason was calling tremendous plays. Now, granted, it's against terrible talent, right? You're playing against players that did not make an NFL roster, but he still had such a great game plan. I don't care if it's Lombardi. I don't care if it's Webb, but it can't be Sean Payton anymore. And yes, this is an overreaction Monday, but you have Broncos fans feeling like this horse. Sad Broncos fans. And I know producer Reed loves this. But this is how we feel this morning. Even though we're 4-2. We're sad horses. We're sad ponies. It's just not good enough. I'm sorry. And I tried to go through all of the different ins and outs of that game on Sunday. And the one area that I kept coming back to was, in order for us to get more disciplined, you have to have a different mentality. The best way to have a different mentality is to have different practice habits. The best way to have different practice habits is to have a new game plan. Well, what's the best way to have a new game plan? Have a new offensive play caller. Period. It all bleeds together. If you want this team to come together to be the best, most buttoned-up version that they can, it starts and ends with Payton saying, I am just going to be the guy that manages the game. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nick Sirianni does that. He won a Super Bowl. Dan Campbell does that. He's excellent. There are plenty of coaches, head coaches in the NFL that don't call plays as offensive minds. They sit back and they let their offensive coordinator or whomever execute the game plan. And that's what we need to see against the New York Giants. Before I continue on with more overreactions, and this time in the positive, talking about the Denver Broncos defense, I have to tell you about our friends over at Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. Did you know you can now follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in just one click? Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner like producer Reed, or just someone whose picks you love, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. How does it work? Well, believe it or not, it's very simple to play. You can pick your lineup that looked just like this one. Didn't look nearly as good with that J.K. Dobbins not hitting it. But if you want to take more, if you want to take less, doesn't matter. You can make yours look like mine. Just download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It is good to be right. So let's go back to Twitter for a second. Hello, Joel. Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper have combined for 12.5 sacks and 21 quarterback hits through 6 games. No edge rushing duo in the entirety of the NFL is doing better than that. And I thought Jonathan Cooper today really came out of his shell. It's not that he's had a quiet 2025 campaign, but when you're overshadowed by big brother Nick Bonito, who is on pace to become the all-time leader in sacks in the NFL in one season, but also coming up on the Defensive Player of the Year talk, it can be kind of hard to feel like you're making an impact, but Jonathan Cooper really, really came out of his shell, and we'll talk about him in just a little bit. Let's go back to Big Brother for a second. Nick, my glorious, sweet Prince King, my sweet baby boo-boo, my lovely little Bonito, my big baby Bonito. I don't know what else needs to be said. If this guy doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year based off of the trajectory that he's currently on, I don't know who deserves it. Because there's not a single player in the NFL right now that is playing better than this guy. Not one. You can't name another player because there is not one. Even Pat Surtain, the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, went to the podium yesterday. And as Nick Bonito was coming off, Pat Surtain goes, there's your Defensive Player of the Year. And why does it even look better as a Denver Broncos fan? Because he's not even number 1 in the NFL in terms of amount per year. He's number 10. And he's on pace to break the record. I'm just going to let that marinate with you for a little bit. I'm going to let it soak like a nice bath. Nick Bonito is playing better than Max Crosby, Daniil Hunter, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, and Micah Parsons. In fact, one player that I actually believe can kind of rival what he's doing right now is Brian Burns. And even then, it's not really close. It's Nick Bonito, Burns, and then everybody else. Period. And Brian Burns, who you're going to face next week, dog. So I just got to be completely frank with you. This guy's an insane, freakish talent. He's on his way to becoming the best and number 1 edge rusher in the NFL. My preseason prediction, so this was back right before the season started. This would have been mid to late August. I said Nick Bonito was going to have 16 sacks. He might beat that. He's on pace to beat that by a long shot. Pretty sure he's on pace right now for 23.5 sacks, maybe 24. Now, you can reasonably assume that against a really good offensive line, he's probably not going to do that like he was stifled against the Indianapolis Colts. But with that being said, 16, 17, 18 is very obtainable this 2025 season. So shout out to my glorious king. His running mate's little brother, Jonathan Cooper, who's really not a little brother. He's just, not as good as Nick Bonito, but still very, very talented. Had perhaps his best game of the 2025 season. 5 tackles, 1 for loss, 2 sacks, and 3 quarterback hits. It's Batman and Robin. It's peanut butter and jelly. It's Reese's and peanut butter and chocolate. That's the best way. Peanut butter and chocolate. Whatever you want. Reese's and Pieces. Now you're talking. Whatever combo you want to put together like that, it's like donuts and diabetes. They go perfectly hand in hand together. It's excellent. And I truly believe that this kind of performance that you're seeing before the Broncos and the Jets, or during this game between the Broncos and the Jets, while it might not be obtainable every single week, is just a small taste of how unbelievably talented, gifted, and well buttoned up this Broncos defense is. And if the offense could have a sliver of what the Broncos defense is giving you this 2025 season, you will see this team make the AFC Championship game. And you can put that on your postcard, and send it. Because that's the truth. So, final question. Will the Broncos defense beat the all-time sack record set by the 1985 Chicago Bears at 72 sacks? My answer, hell yeah. They're going to do it. And we're going to make a video covering it just for you. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. A reminder that we will be back later on with some more content coming your way. Fresh Denver Broncos news, rumors, and everything in between. Until then, mile high salute. Be cool.